It was the crime of the century. A fraud so massive, it brought Wall Street giants to their knees and wiped out the life savings of thousands. At the center of it all was a man the world trusted, Bernie Madoff. Madoff wasn't just another trader. He was a Wall Street legend, a former chairman of NASDAQ, a man who promised stability in the chaos of the markets. To his clients, he was a financial genius, capable of delivering consistent returns year after year. While others rode the highs and lows of Wall Street, Madoff's clients saw only one direction: up. Every quarter, their statements glowed with profits, as if he had cracked a secret code to beat the market itself. But behind everything, there was no magic formula, just an illusion. Bernie Madoff wasn't alone. Hidden deep inside his offices were two men, not bankers, not traders, but computer programmers, Jerome O'Hara and George Perez. Their code, their machines, and their silence made the lie believable. This is the untold story of how the world's biggest Ponzi scheme wasn't just a con, it was a cybercrime before its time. Every empire has its architects. For Bernie Madoff, the illusion didn't live on Wall Street trading floors. It lived on computer servers hidden in plain sight, maintained by two quiet men. Jerome O'Hara and George Perez weren't financial wizards. They weren't hedge fund millionaires. They were programmers, the kind of employees you'd pass in the hallway without a second thought. But to Madoff, they were essential. They held the keys to a secret universe where fake trades became reality. In the early years, O'Hara and Perez were simply maintaining systems, building software to keep the firm running smoothly, but slowly Madoff pulled them deeper. He gave them assignments that didn't make sense, programs to backdate trades, reports that could be changed with the push of a button. Piece by piece, they constructed the digital scaffolding of the greatest fraud in history. Inside Madoff's office, two computer systems carried out the fraud: House 17 and later House 05, secret servers designed to do one thing: lie. With them, O'Hara and Perez could generate millions of trades that never happened. They could place a stock order days after the fact, then print records showing it had been bought at the perfect price. To investors, it looked like Madoff never missed. In reality, nothing was happening at all. At first, they may have convinced themselves it was harmless. Just numbers, just code, just following orders. But they knew the truth. They weren't maintaining software anymore. They were sustaining a lie. And every investor who trusted Madoff was unknowingly trusting them too. By 2006, cracks began to show. O'Hara and Perez tried to erase evidence, deleting over 200 programs from Madoff's system. But it was too late. The illusion was too big, too entrenched, and too many people were asking questions. The coders in the shadows had done their part, but what they created, the illusion machine, would soon spiral out of their control. For Bernie Madoff, appearances were everything, and appearances were controlled by machines. At the heart of his empire was a hidden network of servers, systems nicknamed House 17 and House 5. They weren't built to manage trades, they were built to fabricate them. The software O'Hara and Perez designed could do the impossible. At the push of a button, trades were backdated, as if Madoff had bought stocks yesterday at the lowest price and sold today at the highest. Client statements looked flawless, their portfolios filled with Apple, Microsoft, blue-chip stocks. But not a single trade was ever placed. It wasn't just clients who believed it. Auditors and regulators were handed perfectly forged records. The system could generate trade confirmations, monthly statements, even fake communications from clearinghouses. To the naked eye, it looked authentic. In truth, it was a carefully engineered lie. But by 2006, even O'Hara and Perez began to panic. Investigators were circling and cracks were appearing in the software. In a desperate move, they tried to erase the evidence, deleting 218 programs from Madoff's servers. But the fraud was too big to erase. Too many clients, too many lies, too much money. The illusion machine had worked for more than 15 years. But when the financial crisis hit in 2008, clients demanded their money back. For the first time, Madoff couldn't hide. The software couldn't generate cash, and the entire house of cards began to collapse. The machines had kept the lie alive, but when the money ran out, no line of code could save them. By late 2008, the global financial system was collapsing. Fear gripped Wall Street. Investors scrambled to pull their money from failing funds. But when they turned to Bernie Madoff, the legend of steady returns, the illusion began to crack. He simply didn't have the money. The lie was too big to sustain. On December 10th, 2008, Madoff gathered his sons, Mark and Andrew. For years, they believed his business was legitimate. But that night, he confessed the truth. It's all one big lie, just a Ponzi scheme. His sons were devastated. Within hours, they did the unthinkable. They reported their own father to federal authorities. The next morning, December 11th, 2008, the FBI knocked on Madoff's door. He was arrested without resistance. The man who once chaired NASDAQ, the man trusted by billionaires in charities, was now branded a criminal, the mastermind of the largest fraud in history. The fallout was catastrophic. Thousands of investors lost everything. Entire charities collapsed. Generational wealth was wiped out overnight. The world demanded answers. How had this been hidden for so long? When the FBI raided Madoff's offices, they discovered the machinery of the fraud. Servers with names like House 17 and House 5. Not trading systems, but deception engines. Inside them were years of fabricated trades, false statements, and proof that the fraud wasn't just paperwork, it was programmed. The system logs told a damning story. They showed who had maintained the code, who had generated the fake reports, and who had tried to delete over 200 programs in 2006 to cover their tracks. The fingerprints led directly to two men, Jerome O'Hara and George Perez. Former employees confirmed it. O'Hara and Perez weren't just IT staff, they were the custodians of the secret systems. The coders who had helped sustain the illusion for more than 15 years. On November 13, 2009, armed with digital evidence and testimony, the FBI arrested Jerome O'Hara and George Perez. Charged with conspiracy, securities fraud, and falsifying records, prosecutors called them the very engine of Madoff's fraud. The hidden coders were finally dragged into the light. The empire had fallen. The mastermind was caged. The coders exposed. But the true cost, the ruined lives, the broken trust, and the lessons for tomorrow, was only just beginning. In June 2009, Bernie Madoff stood before a judge and the world. He admitted guilt to 11 felony counts, including securities fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. His sentence, 150 years in prison. The man once praised as a financial genius would die behind bars. Jerome O'Hara and George Perez faced their own reckoning. In 2014, they pled guilty to falsifying records and conspiracy. The men who once stayed invisible in the shadows of Madoff's empire were branded criminals in their own right. By 2018, O'Hara had completed his sentence, but his name, like Perez's, would forever be tied to the greatest fraud in history. The true tragedy wasn't in the courtroom. It was in the lives destroyed. Retirees left with nothing. Charities that had to shut their doors. Generations of families who discovered their trust, their futures, had been stolen. Some victims never recovered, financially or emotionally. What made Madoff's fraud last so long wasn't just charm or manipulation. It was technology. His coders built a system that made lies look like truth. And today, in an age of deepfakes, crypto scams, and AI-driven fraud, the lesson is clear. Crime evolves with the tools we create. Bernie Madoff may have been the face of the fraud, but without Jerome O'Hara and George Perez, the illusion may never have lasted. In the end, this wasn't just a Ponzi scheme. It was a cybercrime before its time. And the scars it left remind us. Trust is fragile, technology is powerful, and greed will always search for new ways to deceive. Bernie Madoff's scam may be history, but fraud didn't end with him. Today's criminals use new tools, fake online stores, crypto scams, deepfake calls, and AI-driven hacks. The game has changed, and the danger is greater than ever. That's why companies like Tileris exist. Tileris is an AI-powered cybersecurity company that protects you from scams before they strike. Analyzing threats, spotting fakes, and keeping your money and identity safe. Visit Tileris.com to get protected today. Madoff's victims didn't have a system watching their backs. You do. With Tileris, you're not relying on luck. You have protection that never sleeps. If this story helped you, subscribe to the channel. We expose the biggest scams, the darkest hacks, and how to stay safe. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and check the links below. Tileris.com is in the description. The next scam is already being written. Stay sharp, stay safe, and visit Tileris.com.